Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where today, since I started recording quite a bit later than usual, we're not going to do the Happy Home Paradise today because I just, got distracted. Well, not really got distracted. I just didn't really start recording till much later, because I was doing things and some things were distractions, some things weren't. So we're just going to do a regular New Horizons episode today, and actually it's a pretty good timing for it because earlier today I finished some recording. I recorded the Talos principle and I've beaten it. The videos are currently being uploaded, and yeah, we're going to take Step for Talos Principle. It's a great game, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I suppose, in Talos Principle, I suppose stop watching this video because I will be talking about it and my thoughts about it in general. But if you don't really mind, because there's not really much to be spoiled on Talos Principle, I'm not really going to talk too much about it, I'm just going to sort of talk about my thoughts about the general gameplay experience. So, hello everyone, right now in Fawnhollow, 6:06 PM on Saturday, November 20, 2021, I have an event announcement to share today. Now that it's late November, we're really getting into the fall season. Don't you just love the fall colours? Oh, speaking of fall, we'll be celebrating Turkey Day on November 25th this year. We've invited a world-class chef to help cook for us in my plaza to help celebrate. I hope you can make it. That's all for today. I hope you have a fun day out there. So yeah, we're just going to be doing what we used to do for Happy Home Paradise, where we will just farm up some stuff and Nook Mole missions mainly. But yeah, I beat Talos Principle, and overall my sort of, I'm not really sure if review is the right word, but my oh yeah, we should start cleaning out some of these things, I guess. So we a delightful birthday present. No. So we don't have to have as many things as this, right? And then again, I say almost everything out loud. My overall, I suppose, review, quote, is it's good. It's a really good game. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it. Is it the best puzzle game I've ever played? Now that is an interesting thought. I don't know if it's the best puzzle game I've ever played, or at least one that so specifically appeals to me. I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong, I like it a lot, but I'm not sure if it's exactly my favourite. But it's sort of like with similar problems, not problems I say, but the similar things which didn't quite appeal to me, that I found in The Witness, is there's a large portion of the game which is just to do with exploration and trying to find things like that. And, it's fine, it's just like, it's not quite my favourite part of the game. Let's start looking at Raymond's letters and start deleting any dupes we got of this one. So, you had to be straightforward friend. This isn't helping. This must be the birthday one. Those Tom Nook bells. Yeah, and trying to think what else I was really gonna say about this sort of thing. Yeah, but there's a lot of exploration. We already had this one. Exploration focus. Sorry, I shouldn't say it's actually the most exploration based thing. It's only like the extra content, I suppose. Like trying to find the stars and all that sort of thing. I can't remember we had this before, so I guess we'll favour this because I can't remember. I never particularly liked exploration about these sort in the puzzle games. Not because it's sort of like bad necessarily as a gameplay aspect. It's just, I suppose it's not really what I go for in oh, I see, we had something similar except for a different food item. It's not really what I go for, I suppose, in a puzzle game. I kind of like the actual puzzle solving element, which is completely fair if that's not actually what you care about. I mean, everyone cares about different things, I suppose, when it comes to playing a puzzle game. But honestly, it's kind of just like a really small part of the game. It's actually like exploring to find the stars. Some of the stars I think were like absurdly unfair, and they, I suppose, in the end of it was really to I can't remember if he gave us to that or not, so we'll sort of leave that. Yeah, it's a sort of thing where it's all quite optional, I suppose. You don't have to do the stars, but the problem is some of the extra puzzles are gated behind the stars, which is kind of why I'm just like, okay. I would be willing to give it a pass if it was just random like collection things, like the audio logs and The Witness, where it sort of just gives you more lore. But having like extra, some of the puzzles actually locked behind it in the end is it feels kind of sad. But honestly, that's such a tiny critique of a game, but it's completely fine. I will say, if I were to follow on with critiques, I think maybe some of the puzzles are kind of obtuse. At least some of the extra stuff. Not all of them, I'd say, but some things certainly. Like the one that always sticks in my mind is the one where we had to whatchamacallit? It was the star on top of a pillar, that sort of thing. And even now, I'm not super sure I know what the intended solution was at the end. It felt a bit obtuse to me. Do we have a comploid before? It doesn't look like we have a comploid. So I think that's actually a new thing. We got a new announcement, which I'm going to guess is about Thanksgiving. Turkey Day, which is fine. Let's go sell some stuff, because we haven't sold some stuff at Nick's for ages. But yeah, and it's difficult to say if a puzzle is actually obtuse or not, because of course everyone has different strengths when it comes to puzzles. In the first place, some people will do it extremely well, some people will not be so good at it. It sort of just, depends on the situation. You can't really say until, I suppose what I mean is everyone's going to have a different idea of which one's difficult. Some people are going to be like, these puzzles are way too obscure, way too difficult for anyone to possibly get, and I might just be like, oh, it was perfectly easy, like I didn't even bother me, I just sort of did it. But I suppose that's kind of the point, isn't it? One of these was fake, but I don't remember which one. But I guess I'll just keep them all for now. So really, I think critiquing puzzles is not really that legitimate a criticism, because on the whole, I think Talos had some very great puzzles. Like I often think about, I guess we can do some morning exercises actually. We'll try it without motion controls. Not morning exercises, but radio exercises. Yeah, on the whole, it had really great puzzles, and some of my favourite puzzles were certainly actually the ones in the star levels and the ones that you found later on in the game, which is a shame because I feel like the star levels ones having such creative solutions. I understand it conceptually. You put the most crazy ones, I suppose, in the star levels because they're optional content and you don't need them, I suppose, to actually complete the game in the first place. In fact, the star levels is only for completely optional ending, and the optional ending is not even that great. I'll be honest, but the other ending is kind of better. We're going to do buttons and see how this works out for us. But yeah, on the whole, really like Talos Principle, and I love its puzzles. It's generally pretty creative with its puzzles. It does some good sort of setup with its puzzles and its solutions, and it's really good at framing things and thematically doing things. Because especially what I would say is it uses the fact that the naming conventions for the levels really well as part of a hint system for the level, and is built in. It's nice to see that they also... What on earth? But this is really hard to do and talk at the same time, I'm not gonna lie. It's really cool what they've done with a lot of puzzles. So many... What? I don't really understand what I'm doing. I can't concentrate and talk at the same time as doing this. So some puzzles really stick out in my head, like the one that's called Deception, I think, from early on, really stuck with me, because I'll be like, oh, this is I know it's quite a basic thing to do in a puzzle game, to sort of a bait and switch, which you eventually subvert the expectations of by doing by revealing the solution actually being something different. This is really hard to do and talk. But especially some of the later puzzles, for example, Cat's Cradle, really sticks in my mind. Cobweb, after I've looked up the intended solution, not the solution I came up with, I'm like, that's such a cool idea. There's a couple of the tower puzzles as well. I think it was Tower Level 1. I was like, this is so cool. It was such a brilliant idea, which I wish I did more of, and that sort of thing. Yeah, so basically, on the whole, I really like it. And another thing I really like about Talos Principle is, of course, the fact it has a very sort of philosophical concept, I suppose, theming behind it, where it's a lot to do with the exploration of what makes someone human, why you would make certain choices, and that sort of way, what really defines someone, what is a good person, etc., etc. And it really delves into that topic, and especially with the theming around it and the meta, I suppose, element of the actual game. They really sort of coincide quite nicely with each other, and it's something that works out super well. I thought it really got me thinking about a lot of things, like what makes a human, and I suppose even more rightly, because of the existence of Milton, they sort of challenge your own presumptions and assumptions as well. It wasn't so straightforward as oh, what's your answer to this? Okay, that's fine. Milton actively fights against you, I suppose, and challenges your beliefs and ideas, and then a little bit snippy, I suppose, about it sometimes, but it gives what is essentially an AI kind of character amusingly. It made him very entertaining to talk to. I didn't really in the Let's Play, you might have got an impression that I didn't like talking to him. No, I absolutely loved talking to him. I was just playing a part, I suppose. And even although during actually playing the game when I'm recording, I'm quite sort of like laissez-faire about the entire thing. I'm not really thinking exactly about the philosophical concepts that Milton's asking me. I'm sort of just like responding like with my innate assumptions. It led to a lot of interesting thoughts, I suppose, outside the actual video game space, because it sort of made me reflect on myself. Like, I'm very sort of made me reflect on my own beliefs, and I'm like, I sort of have like a sort of nihilistic belief, I guess, but it's not nihilistic in a necessarily pessimistic way. It's sort of like a nihilistic wonder, amazement, sort of like a, you know, it's not like, oh, nothing matters and in the end we're pointless, we're all gonna die, whatever, so what's the point of doing anything? And it's more like, oh, nothing really matters, so we make our own meaning, and that sort of thing. Like any meaning can be specific to any person, and we all have our own world and whatever that matters to us. And I think that's quite fun and beautiful in its own right, I suppose. There's no grand, if anything, it's kind of liberating to not have like a grander purpose or grander meaning behind anything. And yeah, the game, I think it's one of the best games I've seen which really tie its thematic choices into the mechanics of it itself. Everything sort of has an explanation. It's a very sort of meta game in itself, where, you know, you're taught to by this god, I suppose, at the beginning, called Elohim, and, you know, at first you don't really have any sort of questions. It's quite, you know, standard to have like an NPC sort of be like a guidance to you, but then it sort of plays into that narrative aspect. You're just doing these puzzles because this random voice in the sky told you to. Why are you doing it? And that's what I suppose Milton's there for. He's sort of giving you pause and question. You see a load of QR codes from what you assume are other people going through a similar situation, also being like, oh, this is why we're doing it, or like, I don't understand why we're doing this in the first place, and having like different sort of conversations and arguments to each other with these like digital tags, I suppose, they've left on the wall. And it's really interesting to see the different characters. Like, you really get a sort of sense. Like, you got Samsara, who fully believes in Elohim and wants to fulfill, I suppose, their purpose in that sort of sense. Shepherd, who sort of questions everything as they go along. Sheep, who really sort of doesn't understand, but, you know, follows Shepherd towards the end. Dog, who is overly critical about the entire thing to a certain extent, which almost becomes annoying. They all play these certain characters. Yeah, there's certain others, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. And you're sort of like, it gave me pause to think about, what sort of role am I playing in all of this? Like, why am I doing this? And I suppose I just came up with the answer, but I also came at it from a very sort of meta perspective. I'm just doing it because I also want to do these puzzles, not for the sake of doing it for Elohim or anything like that. I'm doing it because this is a game I'm playing. I want to, you know, be, I suppose, intellectually stimulated in some sort of aspect. But it really plays into this meta narrative where it makes you question, why are you doing this? Why are you following Elohim in the first place? What's your reward at the end? And then it actually does particularly well at this because it is a game with multiple endings. Which, spoiler, I suppose, if you don't want to know about the endings, I don't think the endings are all that like revelatory, if anything. But a lot of them like are kind of not predictable per se, but you can sort of see the story beats coming. Like there's a bad ending, quite, which is not really a bad ending. It's sort of like a perpetuating the cycle, if anything, is where you follow Elohim, you do all the base sigils that you want, and then he shows you the pearly gates of like eternity and salvation, and he says, "This go through to reach eternity," and you do go through, and it turns out it just restarts a game for you. And there's even, because the whole concept of the game is like it's a simulation, I suppose, because humanity's dying. So this group of scientists who were working on this project were like, okay, we can like try and adapt the project we're working on. By the way, I need to watch like a video which is delves perhaps deeper into the Talos principle lore and that sort of thing, but I haven't. It's a sort of thing where you look into it. Oh yeah, the whole thing was a game. They're basically trying to save humanity, and then they try and archive everything and try and not lose everything in the end. I hope it's at peak. Of course, we'll drink us. They try not to lose everything, I suppose, in the end. And this is how. Yeah, I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, it's all a simulation, of course, and then when you walk through the gates, it goes through a load of checks to evaluate you, I suppose, as a player, quote, quote, both as a person and in the game itself, and you fail the autonomy check. You basically showed no sort of self-control. It's, I suppose, by following Elohim's instructions, by going through the gate, you revealed that you basically are not thinking for yourself, and thus the whole process restarts. And it sort of reveals to you that this entire thing was a sort of like iterative, well, this is my understanding of it, it might not be completely right, but this is what I took away from it, an iterative process to find it's sort of like a machine learning algorithm thing, but you know, not quite exactly like that. To find someone who would, or to find an AI, to find a child program which would have autonomy, which would have free will, and could decide things for itself. And the ultimate goal was to eventually find one which, through random mutations, basically by constantly making new child programs, which is, you know, kind of like how like iterative machine learning kind of works, is by creating a program. You change some random parameters, like you flick some random levers and see how it behaves this time, and eventually you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, iterating over and over again, and a failure being like they walk through the doors that Elohim wants them to walk through, and then success being one that they choose to defy Elohim and climb this ivory tower. Because a lot of the time, perhaps, I'm not sure if I vocalized it actually in game, you sort of wonder when you realise as a simulation of that sort of thing, it's like, what's sort of going on? And I never really thought about this, because there's a giant just tower in for no apparent reason in the middle of the game, but Elohim's like, don't climb up it, which obviously as a player, you know, as a human, I suppose, with your own sort of autonomy and free will, you look at it and be like, I'm gonna climb that. And it reveals to you through the ending, I suppose, when you do climb that ladder, sort of that tower, and you do all the things. Amusingly, there's a fantastic section at the end. I love the final section where the shepherd, who is someone who doesn't believe in Elohim and wants to guide people, I suppose, to their own sort of destiny and salvation, aids you through like these co-op puzzles. And Samsara, who fully buys into what Elohim's saying and wants to basically fulfill their purposes as Elohim's follower, is like, hey, I'm going to stop you. And there's sort of like this back and forth tussle between them, and it sort of introduces, it's sort of like playing, as I described it, playing a co-op game by yourself. Which is, you might be like, that sounds kind of depressing. It's not depressing, it's actually a very cool concept of the way they've done it. It gives you sort of like Portal 2 co-op campaign vibes, except for you're, you know, by yourself. I forgot to water these tomatoes. Or did I only get them yesterday? I don't remember, to be honest. But yeah, honestly, I think this episode might only be 20 minutes long. We'll go to Photopia, then we'll get the stuff, and then we'll have a KK Cider concert, but that's probably about it. Because it's not, I have stuff to say, but we can also continue on into tomorrow. And tomorrow, I don't have to title it Talos Principle. New Horizons 2.0 new KK Slider songs. So we'll just get that up so I can actually get them. Chill Wave is a top one. I wanna fly to Harv's Island to Photopia. Yeah, I suppose it was a really cool revelation, and I'm always like conscious about the fact that I don't think I say it as much during the game, because when I'm playing the game, I'm not really like critically thinking exactly about the entire like process and the situation that has unfolded. But I thought it was a cool revelation to be like, oh, you know, this entire process was just trying to find someone with free will. I mean, the entire point, I suppose, of the whole simulation quote, in the end, was that you were meant to defy Elohim. You were meant to not. Is that, no? That's a fake Vitruvian man. This is the fake Nefertiti statue, isn't it? Because it shouldn't have a, it shouldn't have an earring. You were meant to defy Elohim. You were meant to climb a tower, and by the time you climb the tower, it shows that you have free will and autonomy. And you know, by linking with Milton, you can wake up, I suppose, in real world and kind of not really start anew, but you can be the first human, quote all over again. That's kind of the way I thought the story went, and I was like, oh, that's, you know, really come full circle. The only downside I think of a bonus ending is kind of weird. Like, I don't really get it. Well, it's not like I don't get it. What happens basically, you get all the stars. You had to find all the stars. You had to find all the sigils, and basically you go do this optional ending where you become a messenger. You become a hint system for future generations, which is like, I was just like, okay, I guess. Like, I guess it works as a secret ending, but it's not nearly as fulfilling as the ultimate ending, and the other ending, which I feel like sits with me better, and I don't think I really liked it much. President Look is more a little bewildered by this turn of events. From this version, how did you set your luck with money will diminish? Can you cure my luck? Because I believe this is how we get special items. As I understand it, Katrina will do that. Life has its ups and downs, and its hills and valleys, or something unfortunate might happen today. But if you want to escape disaster for certain, I could possibly purify you. Purification requires very powerful energy, so of course we need significant payment. Let me see, should I purify you for 10,000 bells? Sure, why not? Who cares? Money is no object to us. I understand. I'll purify you to the extent so that I can, so that disaster does not befall you. Please close your eyes. Again. I'm trying to think about what else I want to say about Talos Principle. I don't know. Kiha moata. Kiha. I don't know. I'll continue my thought process tomorrow, I suppose, once I've actually like looked at Ratastiora when I looked more into the lore and that sort of thing. It's just a really, really cool and really fun game, I think. Are we purified? Cool, I guess. Now you should be fine. Hope my crystal will guide you. Cool, thanks. We're gonna go listen to a KK Slider concert now, I suppose. Yeah, what else I want to say about Talos Principle? Yeah, I really want to go, it's really one of the games I want to go, like, look up lore about and see if there's things I missed. There's a huge amount of Easter eggs and that sort of thing, but really, the puzzle solving aspect in it of itself, super fun. Loved it. Sometimes, I will say, on like a micro level of what I didn't like about some puzzles is some of them require huge amounts of just like running back and forth and resetting a puzzle entirely, like, the world state every single time. Makes sense from a lore standpoint, but it's kind of annoying for some of the puzzles. But a lot of them were like, they're very, I can't even think of a single puzzle where I was like, I feel like I'm cheated out of solution, because I feel like I dislike the solution, or like or if I'm just like, give me that one song, or if, it was just like, this feels like a bad solution. The only time it happened, it turned out, was like I didn't get like the proper solution. Not proper solution, but my it was the cobweb one, which I talked about earlier, where I did it and I was like, that doesn't feel like the actual solution, but I don't know exactly why. Right on, and I'm tuned up and ready to roll. Here's a mid for a little chill wave. But the actual solution was actually a lot more clever than I thought, a lot more consistent. I was like, oh, you know, that's pretty cool. But okay, now I'm just going to be quiet while we listen to KK Slider's song. Only us, interestingly. We can clap. Cool. How lovely. And I suppose on that note, we'll round up this episode here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm my dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my dear darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now. Ooh.